Here are a few situations that didn't go exactly as planned. Number 9. This isn't how this works. When you post rewards to catch criminals, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. However, the way criminals get turned in is starting to get pretty wild. Mohammad Ashan is a Taliban fighter. He was suspected of coordinating IED attacks against U.S. and Afghan troops. He was dangerous enough to warrant those wanted posters with his picture going up. The reward for his capture was $100. That may not seem like all that much money, but apparently over in the Middle East, it's plenty enough. Enough money to the point that Ashan turned himself in to Afghan troops at a checkpoint. The troops were truly baffled that this guy went in and demanded $100 for turning himself in. U.S. Army Specialist Matthew Baker asked him, "Is that you?" Ashan replied, quote, Yes, it's me. Now can I have my money?" Phew, a terrorist and impatient. Probably not the best profile fillers on Tinder, but hey, that's just a hunch. A biometric scan proved he was the guy they were looking for. U.S. officials weren't impressed and ended up not giving him any money. One official claimed that this guy was the Taliban equivalent of the Home Alone burglars. To be honest, we think Harry and Marv were just a bit smarter than this guy. But come on, the U.S. government should have at least held up their end of the bargain. What do you guys think? Number 8. Dude, where's my car? There are coincidences. Then there's karma. Then there's also irony. Then there are things that fall into their own category because, frankly, they just make no sense, like this story. Mauricio Fierro had just finished robbing a pharmacy in Sao Paulo, Brazil, when he realized his getaway car had been stolen along with some things inside his car. The thing was, the car he had was actually stolen, and it's the same story with the stuff he had inside the car. He had left the car running to make a quick getaway. He was robbing the pharmacy. Another robber saw the running car and jumped in and took off. And then, as he's coming out of the store to discover his stolen car was gone, another thief comes by and grabs his stolen cash. This whole chain of events was actually captured on surveillance footage. However, there's yet another bizarre twist to this saga. Rather than accepting the karma that fate had dealt him and just call it a night, Fierro decided to go to the police station to report that his car had been stolen. Seriously. At the station, he bumped into the owner of the very pharmacy he had just robbed. The police arrested him on the spot. Strangely enough, he even went on the news to whine about his bad luck. He complained about the amount of crime in Sao Paulo and claimed that the car cost him a lot of, quote, blood, sweat, and tears. In the same interview, he also revealed he had stolen the car just the day before. We understand that Brazil is a tough place to live, and sometimes you do what you gotta do, but if someone's out robbing people, they really shouldn't cry about it when it happens to them. Number 7. Free karate chops. Sometimes we all just have to take a loss, but some people just don't know when to do that. 47-year-old August Williams was extremely determined to kidnap someone in Charlotte, North Carolina, but he made a number of errors in his botched kidnapping. The first, obviously, was deciding to kidnap somebody. His second error was chasing the woman he was trying to kidnap into a building filled with people who were practicing karate. This woman had the luck to run into Bushikan Karate Studio. That's where Randall Elfram, a black belt and head instructor of the dojo, was waiting. Williams obviously doesn't watch karate films because after being confronted by Ephraim, he tried to force his way past him to get to the woman. Maybe he saw that Walker Texas Ranger episode where Chuck Norris took on a whole dojo. Either way, he got beat up by Ephraim. According to Ephraim, he asked Williams what he wanted. Williams claimed he was there for the woman, but she said something to the effect of, "Nah, he's the kidnapper I told you about." We're paraphrasing here, but you guys get the idea. Ephraim went on to defend himself inside and outside the dojo. Once Ephraim managed to get Williams outside, Williams was, quote, dealt with accordingly. Our guess? They probably didn't get to talk it out since Williams was taken to the hospital first before he was taken to jail. Number 6. The antique guitar. When Quentin Tarantino was making his film The Hateful Eight, he was trying to use props that are as authentic as possible. However, there was one precious prop that was supposed to have been treated a bit differently. For the sake of the film, the Martin Guitar Museum loaned Tarantino a one-of-a-kind guitar from 1870. What they didn't know was that Kurt Russell's character, bounty hunter John Ruth, would destroy the guitar in the film. There's a scene where Ruth snatches the guitar from a woman and yells, "Music time's over," before smashing the guitar against the pillar. Actually, that's kind of funny if you think about it. Anyways, here's the thing. They were supposed to switch out the antique guitar with a double. In fact, they made 6 guitars just for the occasion. But someone forgot to tell Russell. Seriously, how do you forget to tell the guy who's supposed to be smashing guitars? Jennifer Jason Leigh can be heard yelling, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," because she knew it was a priceless antique. Her reaction in the movie was genuine. While the museum was compensated for the guitar, Dick Boak, the director of the museum, was still pretty mad since the guitar was priceless. Obviously, he decided to change the museum policy, and the museum won't be loaning out any other items for any movies in the future. Number 5. How's my hair look? We're not experts in robbing banks, but we're pretty confident in saying that after robbing a bank, keeping a low profile is a good strategy. For bank robber Eric Rivers, however, he apparently has a different philosophy. After robbing a pair of banks in Gwinnett County, Georgia in 2017, Rivers seemed to have gotten away with his crime. In fact, he was feeling so confident that he was out scouting another bank to hit. That's when a reporter from an Atlanta-based CBS affiliate stopped Rivers to ask him about public transit. Reporter Ashley Thompson was asking local residents for their thoughts. Rivers figured it was okay to show his face on camera. Gwinnett County doesn't really have its own public transportation, so MARTA coming out here would really help a lot, Rivers said, concluding that MARTA running buses into Gwinnett would help alleviate traffic congestion. While we're not going to disagree with his seemingly agreeable opinion, we're going to say things aren't going to go the way he planned. Because here's the thing, his face was all over surveillance footage at the banks. The cops now knew what he looked like, they just didn't know his name. Rivers gave his name on TV with his face in plain view, so mystery solved. He was arrested and charged with the burglaries. Yeah, the cops didn't think the crime was going to be solved that way either. Number 4, calling 911. Well, the good thing about calling 911 is that they can track your location when you do. However, if someone accidentally dials 911, that's likely going to cause some issues, especially when it's accidentally calling 911 while someone is stealing a car. The 2 guys were both 20 years old, and one of them somehow pocket dialed 911. When the dispatcher picked up, no one said anything. Being a dutiful civil servant, he continued to listen to see if anyone on the other end needed some help. The dispatcher heard one of the guys saying, quote, "I just want to smoke weed right now." Then there was some discussion about how to break into a car. And let's be real, if we were the dispatcher, we'd listen in just because it's interesting anyways. They settled on breaking the windows, and the dispatcher was able to get a play-by-play. Then, as this actual reality show unfolded, the dispatcher alerted the police to what was going on. He even overheard the carjackers worrying about the cops on their tail. Indeed, the cops were on these guys, and they pulled them over. When they were informed of exactly how the law had caught up with them, they seemed somewhat surprised. "We called 911?" one of them asked. Yeah, not what they were expecting to hear. Number 3, lottery bungles. Winning the lottery can be awesome or terrible depending on how someone handles the situation. We've talked about some horror stories of the lottery and have given some ideas of what to do if you win the lottery, so be sure to check out what smart people do. However, the story isn't about winning the lottery, but instead it's about the lengths some people would do to win. Back in 2007, 2 Chinese bank workers came up with a scheme to win the lottery. Mastermind Ren Xiaofeng and Ma Zhengjin figured that all they needed to do to win the lottery was someone who had a lot of money. Why not the bank they work at? Their plan was to use the bank's cash to buy a winning lottery ticket and then replace the stolen cash with the winnings. Boom! They can just go on and live happily ever after. Amazingly enough, their plan actually sort of worked at the beginning when one of them hit a small lottery win. However, as expected, this didn't keep on going. You would think that after stealing a few $1,000s and not winning anymore, those people would just freak out and just stop, right? But no, these guys kept on stealing and banked on winning the big prize to bail them out. They stole around 51 million yen, or the equivalent of around $7.5 million US dollars in total. They had hit a losing streak so bad that the only way out of it was to run. So they took what they could from the bank and they used that money to buy even more lottery tickets while on the run. Let's just say things didn't work out for these guys. They were eventually caught by the Chinese government, and unfortunately for them, let's just say they're not running anywhere on Earth anymore. Number 2. Oops, not you. If someone's a professional mugger, they most likely are pretty good at picking out their targets. However, even if the person they pick is a petite, pretty girl, there's still a remote chance that the girl they're trying to rob is a trained MMA expert. And that's exactly what happened when someone tried to mug UFC fighter Polyana Viana. Officially, Viana has a professional fight record of 10 wins and 2 losses. But after this ordeal, we might as well now say she's 11-2. A mugger tried to take Viana's cell phone while she was waiting outside of her apartment for an Uber. He said that he had a gun. but Vienna didn't think the gun was real. She figured that even if it was real, the mugger wouldn't be fast enough to get to it since he was standing really close to it. And that's when things did not go according to plan for the mugger. She hit him, kicked him, and placed him in a chokehold until police came. When the cops came, they took him to the hospital before taking him to jail. The guy was a repeat offender and had actually just been recently released from jail. After the whole ordeal, she just went back home and made dinner. Oh yeah, and that gun? It was just a cardboard cutout. Number 1. Good thing I'm here. When someone robs a house, they typically don't count on doing something nice. But you know what? That's exactly what happened to an old lady named Zhang in China back in 2010. A thief had broken into her house in the middle of the night and was looking for money to steal. However, he instead found Zhang, an old lady who had woken up with difficulty breathing. Zhang had a heart disorder and broke a glass when she was trying to get her medicine. The sound caught the thief by surprise. Zhang had no clue why this guy just happened to be in her house, but you know what? She asked him to help get her medicine. Surprisingly, he obliged. He actually brought her medicine and water, which saved her life. When asked why he just appeared in the house, he actually admitted that he was there to rob her. He then left without taking anything. Hey, a change of heart can happen at any time, right? Here's what's next.